Welcome to the Word for Life podcast, a daily devotional covering the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
In Deuteronomy 26, Moses tells Israel to remember God's grace. When an Israelite brings his tithe to the priest, he has to talk about the grace of God to Israel. From verse 5 we read, "Then you shall declare before the Lord your God, my father was a wandering Aramean, and he went down into Egypt with a few people and lived there and became a great nation, powerful and numerous. But the Egyptians mistreated us and made us suffer, subjecting us to harsh labor. Then we cried out to the Lord, the God of our ancestors, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our misery, toil and oppression. So the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with great terror and with signs and wonders. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Friends, every offering we bring to the Lord is because God has been gracious on us. When Hannah offered Samuel for temple service, she declared that God was the reason for it. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 7 and 8, we read, "The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with princes and has them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundations of the earth are the Lord's. On them he has set the world." Hannah realized the grace of God upon her life, and therefore it was easy for her to leave her firstborn son for temple service. You see, Israelites do not give any offerings to the Lord just mechanically or without any reason. When they harvest their fruits, they remind themselves of God's grace, and their hearts are filled with gratitude because it was the Lord who gave the land to harvest. Even their forefather was a wandering Aramean. Friends, believers recognize God's grace upon their lives. They joyfully recall the grace of salvation, the spiritual blessings, and every other blessing freely given to them. Realizing God's grace makes an Israelite to give to the Lord. In verse 14 and 15, we read how, because Israel realizes God's grace, they do not eat any of the sacred portion that has to be offered to the Lord, but they do everything the Lord commands them. When Israelites realize God's grace, they also happily follow God's law, and such obedience brings glory to the Lord's name. Verse 18 and 19 says, "And the Lord has declared this day that you are his people, his treasured possession as he promised, and that you are to keep all his commands. He has declared that he will set you in praise, fame and honor high above all the nations he has made, and that you will be a people holy to the Lord your God as he promised." Friends, these words do not simply mean that Israel will be the greatest nation on earth, superior to all other nations. But these verses speak of how God's glory will be seen by other nations when Israel fully obeys the Lord. Even today, believers' hearts direct them to obey the Lord when they realize God's abundant grace on their lives. And when believers fully obey the Lord, they bring such glory to the Lord among all people. Friends, believers exist by God's grace and for God's glory.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the Word for Life podcast.